Hey there, Careblazer. Welcome back to another episode of Careblazers TV. Today's video is a Q&A segment. So if you didn't know, I read all of my comments on YouTube, and I also read the comments and questions posted inside of my Careblazer Facebook group that I have on Facebook. And I basically just pick and choose questions that you've been asking, and I answer them on a YouTube video. So every 10th video I do is a Q&A segment where I take a question and I answer them. So if you have any questions at all that you're hoping that I can answer, feel free to leave them below any of my videos. However, I have some exciting news. If you're watching this as it's released, then you're in luck because I have 4 different live Q&A segments that I'm hosting. Totally free. I do it several times a year. This is only the second time I'm doing it this year because I was away for a while. So if you want to join a live care class where I'll teach about caregiver stress and about what you could do to lower your stress levels and also what you can do to help reduce and prevent some of those really difficult dementia behaviors that you struggle with, then be sure to click the registration link below this video, and you can pick and choose which day and time fits best for your schedule, and then you can ask me whatever questions you have live. So it'll be like this, except we'll be live, and I'm really excited to do this. So don't miss that link below. But let's get to some of the questions that you guys have been leaving me on comments, and we'll get started. So the first question is, what is the difference between dementia and old age? So in old age, there are thinking changes that happen in the brain. We all, as you get older, how quickly you process information starts to slow down. We all forget names from time to time. We might forget an appointment. There are certain things that are just normal brain farts. We all have brain farts from time to time. So not everybody who grows old gets dementia. Dementia is actually a condition. It's a medical condition, and it's a sign that your brain is not aging the way that it's expected to age for somebody that age. So it means that if you were to take a bunch of 80-year-old people together, not all of those 80-year-old people have dementia. The ones who have dementia means that they're having thinking problems well beyond what would be expected for other 80-year-olds, to the point that their thinking problems are creating significant negative impact in their daily life. It's making it difficult for them to manage themselves, take care of themselves, interact with other people, remember to pay bills and take their medicines over and over and over again, to the point where it's having a really significant negative impact. So while there are normal thinking changes that do happen in the brain as we get older, dementia is not a normal part of aging. I did do a video in the past on early dementia warning signs, and I also made a handout that goes over specific examples of these are early dementia warning signs, and these are actually normal brain farts that we all have from time to time. So if you're interested in downloading that worksheet, you can feel free to click the link below this video and download it. It'll be delivered to your inbox. But a lot of caregivers have concerns themselves about getting dementia because they notice that they're forgetting things, forgetting appointments, totally missing things. And a lot of that can be just from stress. There are a lot of things that look like dementia. I actually did a video on dementia lookalikes. I'll be sure to link that as well. But the big takeaway in terms of this question is what's the difference between normal aging and dementia, is that normal aging, you might have some, difficulty remembering things from time to time, but dementia is a medical condition. It's not a normal part of aging, and it significantly negatively impacts somebody's day-to-day life, and it continues to get worse. All right, so this next question I got reads, is it possible to return home after placement or switch facilities? Yes, it is possible for somebody who goes to a nursing home, assisted living facility, group home, to then change to another assisted living facility, nursing home, or group home. It's also possible to go from, let's say, a group home to an assisted living facility to then a nursing home. It is not a prison, although a lot of the patients I talk to feel like they're in prison when they're in a nursing home. It does not mean that they have to stay there forever. If for some reason you have a serious concern about the care your loved one's receiving and you've tried working it out and you just don't feel comfortable, you're absolutely free to move your loved one to another place where you feel like they would get more care. Also, it's possible for you to take your loved one out of the facility for mini vacations, a trip out to a restaurant, to go get their hair done or nails done. I work with a lot of Careblazers who do this. They will stop by, see their loved one, and take them out to their favorite place to eat, or take them to go get their hair done, or just to visit outside of the facility where they live. So that's entirely possible if you want to do that. What I do want to just plant the seed in your mind is that if your loved one is very unhappy where they are, and perhaps they keep saying, I want to go home, I want to go home, I want to go home. Sometimes Careblazers really want to take their loved one home just for a visit, but what they find is that once their loved one gets to the home, they don't want to leave. So you have to be prepared mentally as well as just practically, with maybe needing some other people to help you, that if you haven't taken your loved one out of their residential setting, their nursing home, assisted living facility, what have you, if you haven't taken them out of that setting and taken them back to their old home, just know that for some people, it's really difficult to get them to get back in the car and go back to the facility. Not for everybody, but for some people. I did a video on this specific issue a long time ago about whether to know if it's a good idea to take your loved one out of the nursing home for brief visits. There were 5 signs that I went over. I'll link to that video below so you can watch that. If there is a part of you that is starting to wonder or question, is this really a good idea that I take my loved one out for a day trip or out to visit their old home? Okay? But in short, to answer your question, yes, you can change facilities. You can take them out of the facility. Sometimes you can even have your loved one in a facility and then they'll go back home, right? Maybe perhaps your loved one improved just in their functioning after getting some good rest or getting some good nutrition. Also, there's something called respite, like nursing home respite, where your loved one would go to a nursing home for a temporary period of time. Let's say you had to get surgery and there was nobody else to help your loved one, or you wanted to go on vacation, or you just needed a break. There are Careblazers who put their loved ones in a facility temporarily for maybe a week or 2 while they recover from surgery or go on vacation or just take a break, and then they come and get their loved one and bring them back home. I hope that answers your question. All right, the next question is, my grandfather can't remember that he's eaten. One day I made him breakfast 3 times. The accusation that we were trying to starve him was frightening. He was skinny as a rail, and I'm worried that a medical professional would have to report this to Adult Protective Services and there would be an investigation, and then who knows what. This is a hard situation. I'm sorry to hear this question from you, but I'm glad you asked it, because a lot of Careblazers go through something like this. It is not uncommon for somebody with dementia to forget they have already eaten. A lot of times this leads to the person with dementia being overweight because they can't remember they ate, so they keep eating and keep eating. And I did a video on that. I'll link to it below. But in this particular question, what's really concerning is that your loved one is eating but can't remember they're eating, so he's constantly saying he's hungry and he happens to be really thin, right? So it makes total sense that you would be concerned that people are going to raise their eyebrows and start to wonder whether or not you're feeding your loved one or whether you're neglecting him, and they might make a report. Unfortunately, the fear of getting reported to Adult Protective Services is a very real fear. It happens because in dementia, the brain doesn't understand all of the help that you're giving to your loved one. A lot of times they think that you're causing harm. They think you're trying to steal money. They think you're trying to starve them. They think all of these things. And the person with dementia will just tell anybody who will listen. So although that is a difficult thing, the good news is it's a common thing. So any medical professional that's been used to dealing with somebody with dementia understands that these accusations and comments do happen, and also understand that this disease also comes with a lot of physical issues and physical conditions, like being super thin, like having lots of falls, like bruising easily, those kinds of things. So they're aware of this being something that happens. However, that being said, and me being a healthcare professional as well, we do have to take certain things into consideration. And whenever we suspect that there is abuse or neglect, we do have to make a report to Adult Protective Services. Now, I did a video specifically on being concerned you're going to get reported to Adult Protective Services and what to do if you do get reported to Adult Protective Services. I'm going to link that below, so please watch that video. But in short, just do the best you can do in caring for your loved one with dementia. Just let your healthcare professionals know that you're struggling to have your loved one put on weight. It could be that they can recommend some supplements, some other like more nutrition dense foods that would be helpful for your loved one to help put on the weight. So if you can just document, not only for yourself, like I encourage Careblazers to have like a journal, a Careblazing journal, where they document, you could document what you've been feeding your loved one for the day. Like document the food diary throughout the day. That way, if you did get investigated and somebody came to you, you can say, this is what I fed him every day for the past month. He's just not holding the weight. And sometimes that happens. Also, by bringing it up and calling your loved one's healthcare providers and letting them know, hey, I'm really concerned. He seems to be always hungry and he's not putting on weight. He looks really thin. What else can I do? You're also documenting in the medical record that you're trying to address this. In the end, Careblazer, we can't live our life in fear of what may or may not happen. That's true for any of us. And just know that if it ever did happen that you got reported to Adult Protective Services, you know that you've done the right thing. Adult Protective Services is 100% used to getting complaints like this from people with dementia. They need to do their job and do a thorough investigation because unfortunately, people do take advantage of people with dementia. Not everybody has a great heart like you, but just realize they're doing their job. You will get through it. There will be an end, and there are things and steps you can take to be preventative and proactive that if that ever happened in your situation, that you would have evidence and proof that you've been doing the best that you can. So again, I'm linking that video for Adult Protective Services in the description below. Click on that and watch that as well. I hope it will help you. Also, another tip, because I'm just imagining you spending a lot of your day cooking, right? You mentioned that one day you made 3 breakfast meals in one day. Having a lot of snacks around. So we always want to look when there's a difficult behavior in dementia, how can we get ahead of it? Rather than be reactive and responding to the difficult behavior, how can we get ahead of it and either prevent it or maybe even reduce how often it happens? So in this particular case, having available, easy, ready to eat snacks that your loved one is within their reach, that you don't have to cook or prepare, that they're just like easy, like maybe some nuts or maybe some cookies or maybe a granola bar, whatever the case may be. Just having those available. And as soon as your loved one said something like, I'm hungry, you can say, oh, I just gave you that snack right there. There you go, you can eat it. Because it doesn't sound like weight's an issue. And again, be in touch with his medical professionals to make sure that the snacks and foods you're giving him, if you're concerned about it, are okay for him. But just having them around and having them in his line of sight when he gets hungry and just simply pointing to it can be helpful to help him feel satisfied without you feeling like you have to go to the kitchen and cook a whole new meal each time. This is also a pretty good place to remind all you Careblazers that one of the cardinal rules of dementia care is that we don't want to argue with our loved ones who have dementia. It usually goes nowhere. It makes you more frustrated. It makes your loved one more frustrated and typically adds to them having more difficult dementia behaviors. So don't argue at all by saying, I just fed you, or you just ate, because it sounds like that's not working, but more redirecting them like, oh, here, I just put the snack out, or there's a granola bar right there. That will be more helpful to you and your loved one. All right, Careblazer, that's it for this week's Q&A. If you have any questions you want me to answer in a future Q&A video, which will happen in 10 videos from now, go ahead and leave them below this video or any of my videos. Also, don't miss out on the live care class. I'm going to be live. It's a special webinar I'm hosting, and you'll get a special link once you register to join me at the right time and the right day, and we can hang out together, answer all your questions, and learn a little bit about how to reduce your own dementia caregiver stress and also how to reduce some of those difficult dementia behaviors. I hope to see a lot of you there. Okay, Careblazer, bye. video, it is a disease, when in reality it's like a syndrome. Normal and yes, it is entirely possible to. Also, it is also